Spoilers ahead.
Guys, is there any toes in there? Can we check? Is there any toes? Can we check ahead of us, please? No, gore is fine. It's a movie. Guys, it's a fucking movie. It's a movie. Can anybody volunteer, boys? Guys, when you want one volunteer to go ahead and be like the hero, and you go ahead and check for toes ahead while we're watching, if anybody can do that. Otherwise, we can't watch it. What?
Hello, mods. Unban me. Mods. Unban. Mods. Streamer. Unban. Won't happen again. Mods. Unban. Mods.
Nah, you're good, man. Dude, people, the thing is, dude, is that I let a lot of shit fly in chat, okay? And, we literally have one rule. No game complaining and no being a fucking bitch-ass hoe, okay? So we let a lot of shit fly. You want to be edgy? Well, yeah, it's fine, man. You can be a little bit edgy, man. But when you cross the line, you get fucking rolled on, man. It is what it is. You want it to be edgy? You got permud. End of story. Move on with your fucking life. The fuck? What the fuck is on to, man? Okay, is it good? Okay, we watch it or not?
Watch out and take care.
It's good, okay.
On a late-night train ride, a man wakes up alone, realizing that he might have missed his stop. He walks to the other section of the train, but he slips into a pool of blood, leaving him drenched and afraid. From the other section, he hears thumping noises, as if someone is being butchered, so he takes a look and sees exactly what he thinks. In the busy streets of New York, Leon Kaufman photographs the city and practices it as his profession. He lives with his girlfriend, Maya Jones, in an apartment they rent together. While they spend time together, Maya realizes that Leon's work is causing too much strain and stress on him. She figures out that it would make him happy to call his boss behind his back and let him introduce him to a famous gallery owner named Susan Hoff. The next day, Leon goes to her office with his boss, Jurgis, and officially meets her. Leon explains to Susan that his style captures the unique and gritty shots of the city, but it does not leave a big impression on her. Instead, she criticizes his shots, saying that he is not taking enough risks, and that his shots lack life. Emboldened by her remarks, Leon has a hard time sleeping that night, so he heads outside to seek inspiration for his work. He heads into the city subway system during that night, where he sees the uncrowded place. Just as he is about to go downstairs, he witnesses an impending assault, where 3 men are harassing a woman, and photographs the scene. He calls their attention, making one of the men start to approach him, and again, he starts taking pictures of the man's menacing face. He points at the security camera to avoid a fight, and the group lets go of the girl before leaving. In a sigh of relief, the woman thanks Leon, even kissing him before she boards the train. By the door, a built-in well-dressed man holds the door for her. After overcoming a stressful night, she happily plays music when the man approaches her from behind and hits her head with a meat hammer, causing her to die instantly. The following day, Leon visits the local restaurant where he is a regular customer. As a vegan, he always asks the cook to fry some tofu that he brings with him whenever he visits, and the cook hesitantly agrees after making fun of him. Leon reads the newspaper that day and discovers that the woman he saved, Erika Sakaki, is reported missing shortly after she rode the train. Concerned by her whereabouts, he feels a sense of responsibility for handing a photograph of her harassers to the police immediately. However, the one in charge, Detective Lynn Hadley, does not seem convinced about his theory and even thinks that Leon was stalking her and is the one behind her disappearance. Later that day, Leon meets with Susan again to submit his photo entries. Her expression is nothing short of amazed. The images have gained her respect for Leon as a photographer, and she asks him to submit 2 more powerful pictures to be part of her group show in the following week. For the first time in his career, he feels seen and noticed by the higher-ups. That night, along with Maya and Jurgis, they grab drinks to celebrate. However, the celebration ends abruptly as Leon decides to head to the subway again to take more pictures. 3 passengers wait for their next stop inside the train, but the train takes another route, making them miss their stop. From the convex mirror, one of them sees the same man who killed the missing woman stand up and come toward them. The woman alarms them about the man, but they pay her no mind and continue to converse. Suddenly, the man smashes his head with a meat hammer, causing his eyeballs to fall out and result in his instantaneous death. The killer's identity is now revealed, who comes by the name Mahogany. He targets the next victim by using a hook to stab him, even lifting him into the air. The woman tries to run away, but slips in the puddle of blood on the floor as Mahogany walks toward her in a sinister way. The man from behind tries to stop him by grabbing his leg, but Mahogany mercilessly hits him with the meat hammer. The last remaining passenger suffers the same fate as her friends and gets beaten with the hammer, resulting in decapitation. Waiting to take the perfect shot, Leon waits outside the station for passersby who look interesting. Mahogany comes up the escalator looking extremely intimidating, so Leon takes a photo of him and follows him around. As Mahogany takes a turn, he senses that he is being followed, so he stops just as Leon takes the turn as well. He gets a little frightened seeing Mahogany stand still, waiting for him to pass by. As he gets closer, Mahogany grabs him, and he sees a ring adorned with 8 stars. He nervously explains that he simply wants a picture of him, and Mahogany, fortunately, lets him go. While printing and examining his photos, Leon notices the same ring he saw on Mahogany holding the door for Erica the night she disappeared. This gives him the suspicion that Mahogany is behind the killings of late-night passengers, a myth circulating the city. From then on, Leon devotes himself to investigating Mahogany. He follows him around the city and finds out that he is a butcher. The intrigued Leon waits for him to get off work and follows him to the subway station that night. Oddly, Mahogany is observant and vigilant of his surroundings. He waits for the station to be unpacked, spending hours sitting down, waiting for a possible prey while Leon is busy taking pictures of his new subject. Finally, the train that Mahogany has patiently waited for arrives, but before Leon could enter the same train, a police officer stops him to check his camera. A built man enters the train and tries to make fun of Mahogany before realizing that the train is en route to another railway, missing his stop. Mahogany attacks him, knocking the man at once, but he stops and drops the meat hammer after coughing blood. Little does he know, the man has a knife and gets up to attempt to stab Mahogany, but the killer manages to dodge every attack. The two of them start punching each other, making the train driver, Mahogany's accomplice, alarmed by the situation. He comes to the rescue and shoots the man directly in the head before saying that he is disappointed at Mahogany. Meanwhile, Leon surprises Maya in the restaurant where she works with a pre-engagement ring. He is still saving enough money for her to receive a proper engagement ring, and the two happily share the precious moment. That night, Leon dreams of being on the midnight train, butchering numerous victims. He wakes up from his horrible nightmare and sees himself trapped in the obsession of knowing more about the butcher. Mahogany, who suffers from a skin disease, stands in front of a mirror and uses a scalpel to remove the excess skin that is getting worse over time. Weirdly, he preserves the extracted skin and stores it in his medicine cabinet. At home, Maya notices the man consistently in the pictures that Leon takes. He explains that he feels the need to follow the butcher because he may be the suspect in a gruesome crime, but Maya reminds him of the photos that he has to submit to Susan for the show. With his interest completely shifted, Leon goes into further research about the butcher. The following day, he comes to Mahogany's workplace and pretends to be a butcher himself, just to get a glimpse of him and hopefully more evidence. As a vegan, he finds the place very uncomfortable, but he continues to take pictures anyway. Unfortunately, Mahogany spots him secretly taking pictures, so he runs away to avoid confrontation from the menacing man. In the room where animal carcasses are hung, Leon sees him holding a meat hook in hopes of getting a hold of him. He holds himself up with the animal carcass so Mahogany would not see him, but as he goes down, the scary butcher chases him, but he safely escapes. The disoriented Leon meets up with Jurgis at the restaurant, who is having a big plate of steak at the moment. Leon seems to crave meat that day, so he grabs a piece of the steak and eats it, leaving the cook and Jurgis shocked by his behavior. Later that day, he gathers newspaper articles related to midnight train murders, filling the whole apartment with documents. Maya arrives home to Leon acting frantically and bombarding her with information about the disappearances of people, a scheme fueled by the butcher. Annoyed by his obsession, Maya begs him to stop shooting at night and calls his investigation a whole conspiracy theory. To clear his mind, Maya hands him his camera to take portraits of her, but he only sees visions of the midnight train and the butcher, unable to click the capture button. Leon makes it up to her and apologizes to Maya for being paranoid about the butcher. Still, out of nowhere, Leon sees Mahogany's reflection, which is just outside the restaurant, seemingly taunting him. Instantly, it wakes up Leon's obsession once more, so he makes his way to the subway station, boards the train, and is ready to take more photos of the butcher. During the ride, Leon sets his eyes on Mahogany, who is in another section of the train. Some passengers board the last stop, who end up being killed with a meat hammer. Leon witnesses the bloodbath and instantly confirms his theories of Mahogany being a serial killer. He takes up all his courage to stand up and take the pictures while the butcher is busy cleaning up the scene. Horrifyingly, he sees Mahogany extract the victim's teeth, nails, and hair before hanging them upside down. Mahogany notices Leon and smirks at him, causing the photographer to run along the aisle. As he reaches the end of the train, Mahogany smashes his head against the window, knocking him down. Once he regains consciousness, he finds himself inside the slaughterhouse, still alive. He comes home and ignores Maya, who is deeply concerned about him. Inside the bathroom, he discovers strange markings on his chest, which Maya sees shortly after. Leon reveals Mahogany's scheme to her, but with the lack of evidence since his camera is taken away from him, he is sure that the police will not buy his story. Maya gets alarmed by his behavior, but she believes him enough to seek the photos he took. Along with Jurgis, she plans on retrieving Leon's camera, so they head to Mahogany's apartment. After breaking in, Maya and Jurgis examine the apartment separately. He scours through his tools while Maya enters the bathroom, where Mahogany preserves his extracted skin. Unknown to them, the butcher returns to his apartment and captures Jurgis after finding Leon's camera hidden in the closet. As Maya makes her way out of the bathroom, she sees Mahogany's bag and timetables that record more than 100 years of murders on the train. She runs to safety after seeing Mahogany's shoulder from the closet. Knowing that Jurgis has suffered an untimely tragedy, She reports the disappearance of Jurgis, but Detective Hadley is still skeptical of her claims. According to her, she sent an investigation team to the apartment, but they didn't find anything. When Detective Hadley presses Maya to give back the timetables, she demands answers, but the officer remains unhelpful. In the gallery, Leon attends the event, where he is introduced to clients who find his work exceptional. However, Leon is too stressed to maintain a conversation with anyone, so he walks around the gallery until he stops by one of his photographs with mahogany in it. He observes it intently until Susan asks what is wrong. Before walking away, he tells her, "I have a train to catch." Meanwhile, Maya takes a gun hidden in the restaurant and finds Detective Hadley outside, who finally gives her the whereabouts of Jurgis on the train. While she boards the train, Leon gathers several weapons from the slaughterhouse, now ready to combat Mahogany in full butcher gear. On the train, Maya realizes that the train took another direction, so she stands up bravely and makes her way along the aisle, where Leon sees her. Afraid for her life, he chases the train and manages to climb from it. Mahogany has just completed his nightly massacre, and Maya sees Jurgis hanging from a meat hook, her screams alerting the sinister Mahogany. She tries to shoot him but misses every shot, so she resorts to running back to the other end of the train. However, Mahogany throws his meat hammer and hits her to face and fight between the swinging bodies that are ripped, thrown, and used for defense. Their brawl continues climatically as the two recklessly throw themselves against each other. Jurgis, hanging from a meat hook, dies after being gutted in Mahogany's attempt to hold on. Finally, Leon throws Mahogany out of the train, but not long before it hits its final stop. Maya approaches Leon, slightly relieved that they both survived. The train lights go out at the final destination, and the driver calmly informs them to step away from the meat. They find out the purpose of the abandoned station, as reptilian creatures enter the train and start consuming the bodies of the murdered passengers.
What?
Both of them step down and enter an underground cavern, covered with skulls and decomposing bodies. The battered Mahogany returns from beneath the train with his eyes transformed and fights in a death brawl with Leon, who finishes him at last by impaling the butcher's skull on a blade. Mahogany demonically grins in his dying breath, pronouncing the single word welcome. The train driver picks up Leon after attempting to attack him, rips out his tongue, and eats it. He continues to tell Leon that the carnivorous creatures had lived underground long before the subway existed, and Mahogany's job is to feed them every night to keep them from civilization and attacking train riders during the day. He then approaches the unconscious Maya, who lies on a pile of bones. Brutally, he lets Leon watch as he cuts her chest open to extract her heart before handing it to Leon, now that he must take the dead butcher's place. The following day, a new butcher is up for the job and wears the same ring with the group symbol. He meets Detective Hadley, who hands the train timetables, revealing that she is part of the secret society. The new killer makes his way onto the midnight train, looking for a new victim, and reveals himself as none other than Leon. Subscribe to watch more videos like this.
What the fuck did I just watch? What a weird, dumb, unneeded plot twist. What? I just wish that they built the killer character into the plot. The problem is that they tried sort of had to hide the plot twist that, like, it doesn't even make sense even when you know the twist. It's like, okay, why? Like, it doesn't fit the character or whatever. It's just out of the blue. Man?
xQc.
This looks complete garbage.
What's up, movie love?
Nope, 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 no narration, none of that. We will only accept TTS.
Story recap.
Guys, we only watch TTS. Only. No non-DTS dog shit.
Welcome to Movie Caps. Today I will show you a
Guys, is this toes? This looks kind of decent. Can we scan for toes or not? Guys, stop with this, like, haha, I'm gonna bait and be so edgy and cool. Dude. We're trying to watch some shit, man. Like, I literally have to know. If I don't know, we can't do shit. It's so dumb. Don't care? Okay, I've been for 14 days. You know, dude? You want to think? Don't care either. Okay, if you don't care, well, I don't care either then. Okay, let's level it out together, man.
Hey,
thriller
have you
film from
seen the new
2010
Barely
titled Unthinkable.
Sociable video?
Spoilers
It's a
ahead.
good outlook
Watch
on
out
how the
and take
music
care.
industry has mob ties and its dark secrets. It's a very
An
interesting
American man
video
and former
I
Delta
think
Force
you'll like
operator.
it. You should check it out. xQc link.
How can a movie be toes? Guys, because there's titties and ass booty cracks.
Stephen Arthur Younger, more recently known as Yusuf, is recording a videotape. He stops and starts again several times before fully committing to his final draft. Tuesday, at the LA FBI field office, a team is sifting through data that has been collected on suspicious people. When prompted by Brody, a team member responds that the best he has is that a flight school called about an Arab-sounding man wanting to take flying lessons. Brody is unimpressed with the lack of results. An agent comes to Brody and explains that he went over the files they received from the CIA and found something interesting: a man named Henry. Apparently everything about Henry is classified, but he found it interesting that his wife is Bosnian and that she was involved in questionable activities. In the Humphreys household, both Henry and his wife are extremely cautious, having cameras installed all over the house. All news outlets are reporting on Yusuf allegedly shooting a police officer and kidnapping 2 children. The FBI had not been briefed on Yusuf beforehand, and only now find it out. Brody mentions that she recognizes Yusuf. He is listed on their pin board as a suspect they are investigating. Brody demands that his file be brought out. Yusuf has no record of being extremist. He served in the US Army, but his military file is classified. Brody's superior, Jack, arrives and orders that every suspect be brought in and questioned. He needs every agent to work on Yusuf's case. Brody wonders what's going on and says they don't have enough personnel to do it. Jack offers her as much manpower as she needs and doesn't reveal any more details. The FBI turns up at the Humphreys household. Henry quickly calls his acquaintance at DIA, Charles, and tells him about the FBI at his doorstep, urging Charles to relocate him immediately, before hanging up and taking a gun for protection. Charles calls Brody on her personal number and tells her to withdraw her agents immediately. The CIA file about Henry was accidentally leaked to the FBI, and that he is armed and dangerous. They try to contact the 2 agents, but there is no response. Brody sends another team to investigate. They cautiously approach the house, and at the doorstep Henry tries to resolve the situation peacefully after seeing the FBI badge. The 2 agents from earlier have been captured and tied up. They take Henry in for questioning. Henry acts smug and calls them idiots who have no idea what they are doing. When asked for his real name, Henry says they can call him H. Then Charles and Jack enter the room and break off the questioning. H is under protection and the FBI screwed up. Jack asks Brody for her help on a classified mission and she agrees. Wednesday, agents from the FBI are summoned to an abandoned facility that has been turned into a black site under military command. General Paulson receives them. He is in command. Charles and H are also present. H jokes about being an independent contractor. Jack shows Yusuf's complete tape where he threatens to detonate 3 nuclear blasts in various US cities if his demands are not met. The bombs are set to explode in 2 days, on Friday. Paulson says that Yusuf worked as a nuclear specialist in Iraq and the threat is 100% real. He has not yet made his demands clear yet. Finally, they reveal that they have already had Yusuf in custody for 24 hours. As they are taken to Yusuf to see him in person, Paulson explains that he was caught in a shopping mall, suspecting that Yusuf wanted to get caught. He is tortured with tactics such as cold water, cold air conditioning, sleep deprivation and more. However, H, who is a special interrogator, thinks this is completely useless. His first attempt to prove his point is to take a large object and repeatedly strike Yusuf's interrogator. He is forcibly removed from the chamber and taken into custody himself. Brody comes in and plays good cop, turning off the air conditioning and drying Yusuf off. She asks him to give her information to act on, but he just says it's too early after checking the time on her watch. Paulson gets Brody out of the chamber. She confronts Jack that all of this is illegal and probably ineffective, but they have been ordered to assist the military and must follow it. Brody asks H about the little show in the chamber. He says military tactics will not work on Yusuf because he's an ex-soldier trained to withstand this kind of interrogation. Charles and Paulson come in and ask H for his help with the interrogation, but he will take turns with others. H disagrees and prefers to work alone with a partner of his choice. Paulson mentions that H isn't the one in charge. "You will treat me with respect," says H. He chooses Brody as his partner. Paulson does not see it that way, but the top official comes in and says,
Yo, nobody gives a fuck about your dude, propaganda, haha, guys, I'm so edgy, bro. I'm so woke, guys. Don't you see, guys, this movie? It's just propaganda, bro. Guys, you see, guys? I know this because I'm awake, guys. I know this, guys, because it's Shut up, bitch. We're watching a movie, man.
To give H what he wants. H orders all personnel to leave. He gets his equipment and asks Charlie to call his wife, because although it's top secret, he only eats her food. With the opportunity, H quickly shows what he can do. He asks Yusuf where the 3 bombs are, but after receiving no answer, he emotionlessly chops off one of Yusuf's fingers with a fire axe. Horrified, the military and Brody attempt to put a stop to the measures, but the top official makes it clear that the potentially catastrophic consequences require these extreme measures. H continues the interrogation. They put a plastic bag over Yusuf's head and H cuts a small opening in it so that Yusuf can barely breathe. He takes a knife and says he is his worst nightmare as he begins to cut off his body parts. They try to contact Paulson, but he just tells them to keep going. Brody does not want to accept this illegal torture and leaves the room. She tries once again to talk some sense into Jack, telling him that it's unconstitutional, but there will not be a constitution if the bombs go off. Brody composes herself in the bathroom and H comes in to take a leak. She takes the opportunity to express her
This stuff happens, Mr. Cow. Okay, and you know what, dude? It's a fucking movie. I'm watching a movie. Stop thinking 3 steps ahead with your fucking political dog shit brain, fake woke dog shit Twitter fucking cucklord blue-haired cuck piece of shit. Watch the fucking images and shut up.
dissatisfaction with his methods, saying that physical pain does not work. H offers to work together and take turns. She will ask questions and he will torture. Brody goes into the chamber and lets Yusuf rest. She plays the good cop, but after telling him that H will not stop, he says that he was prepared for it, which means that Yusuf expected to be tortured. Brody then tries to use his family against him, his wife and children. This does not work, as he says they have 2 days to agree to the demands he has not made yet. Yusuf says that he will state his demands tomorrow. H returns to playing the bad cop. At night he does not let Yusuf sleep a wink, for he tells him that he will break him. Every man has something he lies to himself about. Yusuf just grins and H loses his temper. Thursday, H begins using electric shocks. His wife arrives at the facility at his request and he asks Brody to watch Yusuf. When Yusuf falls asleep, they use the electric shock on him, but the machine malfunctions and does not shut off. They manage to turn it off just in time. Meanwhile, H is enjoying his time with his children and wife. He confirms to Brody that he caused the machine to malfunction so they can save Yusuf and he gets to feel false hope. Meanwhile, the FBI continues its investigation into where the bombs may have been placed. They are also trying to find Yusuf's family and are hot on their heels. They suspect that one bomb is definitely in LA. Yusuf looks broken as his neck spasms with pain. H asks Brody to massage Yusuf's back while he turns up some soothing music and tells a story in a calm voice about his wife and what she did in Bosnia. That his children were born prematurely, and when he asks about Yusuf's children, he breaks down. H takes this as his cue to continue his torture. Yusuf begs him to stop and shouts that he will talk. Only now does Yusuf make his demands. He wants the President of the United States to announce an end to support for puppet governments and dictatorships in Islamic nations and the withdrawal of American troops from all Islamic countries. The group immediately dismisses the possibility of his demands being met, citing the US government's declared policy of never negotiating with terrorists. But H says they should take the deal because it's just an announcement, they do not have to follow it through. They have less than 24 hours before detonation. Top official tells H to continue with his methods. Brody tries to get through to Yusuf, but he will not give up anything until his conditions are met. H continues with his torture. The FBI obtained the footage from the mall. Yusuf stood there for 23 minutes waiting to be captured, knowing he would be tortured. Paulson argues that all of this might be a hoax and that there are no real bombs. Brody goes into the chamber and takes over H. She accuses Yusuf of faking the threat of explosion in order to make a statement about the moral character of the US as a nation. He finally breaks down and admits that there were never any bombs planted. He never had nuclear material, the bombs are simply empty shells. To prove this, he whispers an address to Brody. Teams of troops are sent out to scout it out. Brody does not believe that it is the hoax that Yusuf claims, because he had previously said that something would happen today. They find a room that matches the scene from the videotape, and they find evidence on the roof. A soldier removes a picture of Yusuf from an electrical switch, triggering a massive C4 explosion in a nearby shopping mall that can be seen from the building they are in. Enraged at the senseless lives that were lost, Brody returns to Yusuf, threatens him with a scalpel, and demands to know where the bombs are. Yusuf has rested and is undaunted. He justifies the deaths at the mall by saying that Americans kill that many people every day. Yusuf says he is not a coward, that he allowed himself to be captured so he could meet his oppressors face to face. Friday. Information comes in that Yusuf got a parking ticket in Dallas. The address was traced to a warehouse where they found a bomb. It appears to be a real nuclear bomb, set to detonate at noon today, which is in 3 hours. It is almost impossible to find the other two in time. They continue to torture Yusuf, but H looks defeated and says he may not crack. H gets back into the chamber and takes off the blindfold from Yusuf. He cracks a smile and winks at him. Meanwhile, the FBI has found Yusuf's wife. She states that she will not say a word until she is able to see her children. Brody threatens her with time in prison if she does not comply. H proposes to use Yusuf's wife against him and brings her before her husband. Her simply speaking to Yusuf is not working, so H threatens to hurt her in front of him. Brody stops him and orders the soldiers to take Yusuf's wife out of the room and away from H. Out of desperation, H slits her throat and she dies in front of Yusuf. H is told that in each city government officials and their families are being evacuated to nuclear shelters. Time is running out and he must finish what he has started. H comes to Yusuf and tells him that he will die today, that there are no limits, that he has been authorized to do everything in his power to obtain information. H steps outside to take a drink of water and Brody tells him that there is no more time and to do everything he can. At that moment, H tells the soldiers to go get Yusuf's 2 children. Outside of Yusuf's hearing, he assures everyone that he will not harm the children. Brody lets H know that if he does anything to them, she will personally see to his death. Yusuf's children are brought in. H makes it clear to Yusuf that he will hurt them if the locations of the bombs are not revealed. Yusuf finally gives in and gives 3 addresses, one in New York, one in Los Angeles, and one in Dallas. However, H does not stop what he's doing. He says that there must be more, which Yusuf is concealing. H asks Yusuf if there is a 4th bomb. Yusuf denies that there is. The others, desperate to free the children from H, break into the chamber and take H out by force. H points out the amount of missing nuclear material that Yusuf potentially had at his disposal and insists that Yusuf has not admitted to the 4th bomb that he believes exists. He points out that everything Yusuf has done so far has been methodically planned out. The top official in charge demands that the children be brought back for further interrogation. H questions this and wonders if he will be able to do what needs to be done. He is given permission. H demands that Brody bring the children back in because her breaking her decency will give him the moral approval that he needs to do the worst thing possible. When Brody refuses to retrieve the children for H, he unstraps Yusuf, sarcastically setting him free. The top official draws his pistol and aims it at H to force him into doing what is demanded of him. Yusuf grabs the top official's gun. He asks Brody to take care of his children and kills himself. Brody walks out of the building with Yusuf's children. The FBI successfully find the locations of the 3 bombs and manage to defuse them just in time. Unfortunately, H was right, there is a 4th bomb and Brody's decency has just cost them millions of lives. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this.
What? Brody? Hello? What the fuck is Brody doing? What the fuck is Brody okay? He's throwing it. He's just throwing. It's just weird. It's a she? Well, I mean, she has a guy name, so I mean, I don't know. What? Oh god, fuck me. Okay. This is interesting. A zombie movie. Yeah, somehow we can't watch a movie for the movie that it is and just talk about the movie. Somehow the chat turns into like some literally political hive mind, like Hassan addicts, like tier 3 Hassan subs. Like haha bro, dude, fuck America, fuck everybody, man, everybody died because fuck this, they fuck him dude, what even is that, man? What? Guys, stop acting as we're not reading the chat. Okay, I was reading the chat. Stop acting. Do not act like you didn't read it.
Typical.
This looks bad. This looks bad. What? Guys, show me a good one. The one with the rock. That looks terrible. The one with the rock?
Why do you think movies are
Welcome
made?
to MovieCat.
To entertain the public and shape perception. L take. Unsubbed after 3 years of watching. Your content going downhill anyways.
Okay, so you're unsubscribing because you're upset that I call the movie entertainment and you said the movie is entertainment and perception shaping. You know what, dude? You know, dude? You're right. My perception is that you're a dumb fuck and I could not give a fuck. I could not give no fucks about you leaving it. You wanna know what, dude? You wanna know what, dude? Motherfucker, let me tell you something that is gone and you're never going to see again. Ready for this? Ready for this? The 36 times $5 that you gave to the stream, you fucking cuck. Fuck you, man. I'm gonna buy a fucking steak tonight, motherfucker. On your dime, pussy. I'm gonna get a fucking steak with some mushroom sauce and some mashed potatoes on your dime. Fuck you. Okay, now we can move on from that. Holy shit, what a dumb fuck. Okay. How about more? Doubling down? Yeah, of course. Why, you think I'm gonna cave in and start changing what I say and how I act because one sub? I don't give a fuck about it.
Fringe Dono Omega Lal.
The guy didn't even donate his username. You would think if he was a 36-month sub that he would have a username. He donated some dog shit. He's not even a sub. He's probably some random guy.
5-child entertainer, that's chump change to me. Any dessert?
That's chump change. That's chump change to you? Jesus Christ. What do you think that is to me then? That's literally the fucking dust that's stuck in between the ceiling lamp, you fucking moron. Are you okay, dude? Where's all this guy? That's literally the fucking lint in my fucking ass crack. Are you okay? Hey, give me a good one. Please. Please.
Welcome back to Movie Recaps. Today I will show you a thriller, sci-fi film from 2007, titled Sunshine. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. It's the year 2057, and mankind is facing extinction because the sun is dying. 8 astronauts are chosen to board the spaceship Icarus I and carry a colossal stellar bomb with the mass equivalent of Manhattan Island with the intent of jump-starting the sun, but the spaceship gets lost before they can reach the star.
He doesn't exist. Guys, Yo, don't know. Don't know, but this time with your Twitch username, so we can see if you're actually a long one sub. Surely, since you know so much about shaming perception, right? And knowing the truth, surely you wouldn't be lying about that, right? Right? Go ahead, show us, man. Show us the kind of cheddar you are, man.
Since they lose communication with Earth after a certain point, nobody knows what has happened to them. 7 years later, while Earth is freezing in a solar winter, a new crew of 8 is sent out in the Icarus II to try again. First, it's Searle, the ship's doctor and psychological officer, who has become obsessed with watching the sun. He even asks the Icarus AI to refilter the observation room panel to allow him to see as much brightness as possible without burning himself. This is such an amazing experience for him that over dinner, he recommends doing it to the whole crew: the engineer James Mace, the pilot Cassie, biologist Corazon, the communications officer and second-in-command Harvey, the ship's captain Kaneda, the navigator Trey, and the physicist in charge of the bomb Robert Capa. But none of them are attracted to the idea. Kaneda informs them that the solar wind reading is much higher than they'd anticipated at this distance, and soon they will be entering the dead zone, which means they won't be able to communicate with Earth anymore, so the crew should send home their last messages. Capa records a video for his parents and his sister, telling them they can't contact him back, but they'll know if they've succeeded if the sun comes out by the time they get this message. However, he takes so long in recording this, that there isn't any time left for his crewmates to do the same, and this enrages Mace, who tries to start a fight with him. After the others separate them, Mace is sent to talk to Searle, who tells him he has lost track of time and prescribes him 2 hours in the Earth room, which is a chamber that simulates their home in order to calm them down. Meanwhile, Kaneda continues to watch the old reports sent by Pinbacker, the captain of Icarus 1. While Corazon assures him her garden is producing plenty of oxygen and that's not the problem the previous crew had, Kaneda is still worried, especially when he sees Pinbacker describe some damage his ship got as beautiful. A distraction is welcome, however, when Cassie discovers they're passing by Mercury, so the whole crew goes to the observation room to watch it. Sometime later, while checking comm systems, Harvey makes an important discovery, a transmission playing the distress signal from the Icarus 1, which is reaching them thanks to the ship reaching the dark side of Mercury and the iron content of the planet acting like an antenna. Icarus simulates the first ship's trajectory on the screen and they realize nobody picked up the signal until now because it was hidden in the background light and noise since the Icarus 1 actually managed to get pretty close to the sun. The crew starts discussing if it would be a good idea to adjust their trajectory and make contact with the Icarus 1. Mace doesn't think it is a good idea because the mission is more important and if they don't deliver their payload, everything dies. On the other hand, there may be survivors in the ship, plus extra oxygen and food they can use, and most importantly, an extra bomb that could give them a better chance at reigniting the sun. Since they can't agree if the risk is worth it or not, they leave the decision up to Kappa because he has the physics knowledge to know what is best. After running the math with Icarus, he decides the extra bomb is worth the risk and tells them to fly towards Icarus 1. The ship leaves Mercury's orbit after Trey adjusts their trajectory, but he makes a mistake. He has forgotten to realign the shields that protect the ship from the sun, causing damage to 4 panels which if not repaired could destroy the whole ship and kill the crew. Kaneda and Kappa embark on a spacewalk to make repairs while Cassie guides them, angling the damaged portion of the shield away from the sun and causing the loss of 2 protruding communications towers that have no use right now. However, this also causes the reflected light to destroy the ship's oxygen garden and oxygen reserves to Corazon's dismay, who has to watch how O2 is released to put out the fire. They need to re-angle the shield, but this would kill Kappa and Kaneda, who are still not done with the repairs. Harvey and Cassie want to wait, but Mace reminds them that the priority is to protect the payload and Kaneda agrees with him. So as Icarus uses autopilot to fix the ship's rotation, Kaneda sends Kappa back inside and sacrifices himself to fix the last panel. Moments later, Searle needs to sedate Trey, putting him in a catatonic state, because the guilt is putting him at suicide risk. As the second in command, Harvey becomes the new captain, and he informs the crew that after what happened to the garden, they don't have enough oxygen to get them to their delivery point, let alone survive the journey, so now they have no other choice but to try to make contact with the Icarus 1 and hope they can salvage enough to continue the journey. After everyone else goes to take care of their chores, Mace, Corazon, and Cassie have a chat in private, where Corazon tells them that their current oxygen levels would be enough if they lose 3 people. Afterward, Cassie shares a little talk with Kappa, telling him she is scared of dying, but he admits he is not. Once Icarus 2 finally docks with Icarus 1, Kappa, Searle, Mace, and Harvey go aboard to search the ship. Ignoring the fact lights don't work and the ship is full of dust, which most likely is human skin, they decide to split the group to search more effectively. Harvey finds the garden intact with 7 years of unchecked growth, which delights Corazon, while Mace confirms the second bomb is fully operational, and Searle checks for water and food, finding plenty of both. Mace discovers all systems are fine as well, except he isn't getting anything from the flight computer, and when he digs deeper in the files, a recording with a rambling message from Pinbacker starts playing. His face is burned, and he mentions they've abandoned the mission because they shouldn't defy God. The transmission code is from 6.5 years ago, exactly the time they were supposed to deliver the payload. Mace keeps on searching for an explanation and finds out the mainframe has been sabotaged, so they can't fly the Icarus 1, officially making this detour completely pointless. Meanwhile, Searle enters the observation room and finally finds the crew. All the bodies are sitting in front of the panel, having let the sun burn them to ashes. Suddenly, the 2 ships explosively disconnect, destroying Icarus 1's outer airlock and stranding the 4 men as the Icarus 2 starts to float away from them. They find only one suit they can use, so Mace and Searle agree to give it to Kappa, who has priority because he is the only one that knows how to operate the payload. Harvey protests against this, saying he should be the one with priority because he is the captain, but the others ignore his orders. However, Mace has one more idea that could save the rest of them. He takes insulation material from the walls of the ship to wrap themselves in it. This should be enough for them to resist the cold while jumping from one ship to another. There's only one problem, because the computer isn't working anymore. One of them must stay behind to open the hatch, and Searle accepts to sacrifice himself and be the one to do it. Once Cassie aligns both airlocks, Searle releases the airlock and the other 3 men use the vacuum release for propulsion to jump between ships while holding on to each other. They are forced to let go though, when they accidentally hit the ship on their way out, and only Kappa makes it to the other airlock. Mace manages to hold onto a handrail, and thanks to this Kappa is capable to grab him and drag him inside with him, but Harvey floats away and freezes, dying from asphyxiation. Back in Icarus 1, Searle has accepted his fate, so he goes to the observation room and sits next to the bodies to let the sun burn him while Cassie says her goodbyes through the comms.
No.
After triple checking the activity file, Mace is sure Icarus didn't disconnect the airlocks, and there wasn't a malfunction either, which means someone did it manually. Since the men were together in Icarus 1 and the women were together in Icarus 2, the only remaining option is Trey. Kappa is skeptical because Trey is so deeply sedated, it is almost impossible for him to move enough to pull such a thing. Corazon also points out that now they have lost 2 breathers, only one more needs to go so they can
Captain
survive the mission, and Mace accepts to be the one to kill Trey. Kappa thinks this madness is probably what happened to Icarus 1, but he still agrees on doing it, because the future of mankind is more important. Corazon also agrees, but Cassie doesn't, not that it matters much, since it's 3 against 1. Mace leaves the crew behind and enters the infirmary. After grabbing an electric scalpel, Mace checks the bed, but Trey isn't there. He is actually sitting in the Earth room and he's already dead, having cut his own wrists. Mace calls the rest of the crew so they can see what happened, and once they are there, he blames the deaths on Kappa's decision to divert the mission and says the spilled blood should be his. Angry, Kappa tackles him and starts a fight, which doesn't last long because they have trouble breathing since the air is low. While checking on the payload, Kappa makes Icarus run a check on the crew's biometrics and oxygen consumption, and Icarus 1 informs him they are all going to die before delivering the payload because the oxygen is not enough. When Kappa gets confused and says the remaining oxygen should be enough for 4 people, Icarus tells him there is a 5th unknown person aboard, currently standing in the observation room.
What?
Kappa rushes there and finds the viewing panel bright with sunlight, and standing in front of it, an insane and disfigured pinbacker that keeps rambling about God, angels, humanity, and stardust. He was the one that decoupled the airlocks. Suddenly, he attacks Kappa, managing to cut his stomach with one of the electric scalpels before he runs out and asks Icarus to change the panel to full sunlight. This isn't enough to kill him, so he chases after Kappa until he enters the airlock and closes the hatch behind him. Pinbacker takes the chance to lock the door manually to stop Kappa from escaping before going to the coolant tank to remove the panels, which causes Icarus to shut down. Meanwhile, Corazon is staring at her burned garden when she notices a tiny little baby plant among the debris. She intends to tell the rest of the crew about it, but Pinbacker finds her and kills her by stabbing her with the scalpel. Back in the airlock, Kappa puts on the vest from one of the suits in an attempt to stop the bleeding and notices he cannot open the door as the power goes out in the entire ship. Cassie, who had been sleeping, also notices the lack of power and goes out to investigate with a flashlight in hand. When she finds Pinbacker, she runs out of there as fast as possible. In the control room, Mace reactivates the computer with an emergency battery, but Icarus won't answer. He sees Kappa on the security cameras and tells him to use the communicator on the suit helmet, so now Kappa can tell him about Pinbacker and his sabotaging. As soon as he hears this, Mace rushes to the coolant tank and submerges himself in the freezing water to reinstall the panels Pinbacker took out, managing to bring back power right before Pinbacker catches up with Cassie at the Earth room and tries to attack her. Luckily for her, he gets confused by the shadows and grabs Trey instead, so Cassie grabs the scalpel Trey had used and stabs Pinbacker before running out again, hiding in the room with the bomb. As his body slowly freezes to death because his leg is stuck in the coolant tank, Mace manages to contact Kappa to tell him they're in orbit, but the computer is down and he isn't sure he can make it work again, so he will have to separate the payload from the ship and detonate it manually. Mace dies while begging Kappa to finish the mission. Kappa puts on the astronaut suit and uses a torch to make a hole in the door that connects to the hallway, then he unscrews the lid that covers the emergency button and presses it after tying himself up to the wall. This causes the main hatch to be expelled, and the combination of the incoming pressure from outside and the hole on the metal makes the hallway door blow up, giving Kappa back access to the ship. After seeing Mace's frozen body, he goes to the control room and activates the separation procedure, then jumps out of the ship and into the now separated bomb room while Icarus 2 is burned away by the sun. Inside the bomb, he takes off the suit and comes closer to Cassie, who is sitting on the floor with a lost look on her face. He barely gets to say a word to her when Pinbacker ambushes them, grabbing Kappa by the neck and taking him over the edge of the bomb with the intention to drop him into the abyss while talking about the sun as if it was his god. It is then that Cassie snaps out of it and runs to help Kappa. Together they manage to lose his grasp by ripping the skin off one of his arms. The bomb is finally entering the sun now, so after being thrown around a bit by all the shaking, Cassie tells Kappa to finish it. He sees Pinbacker waiting for him by the edge of the bomb but decides to ignore him and concentrate on the mission, so Kappa rushes to the controls and activates the payload. The bomb explodes and Kappa watches how the sun is reignited, even reaching out to it before dying. Back on Earth, Kappa's sister watches his message one more time before taking her kids to watch the sunrise for the first time in years. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.
That's truly moving. Guys, that was
story recap.
Guys, that was moving. I'm holding back all the tears right now. That was really tough.